You can understand how much suffering it can be for a rich man to become poor. Saudi Arabia is also facing similar fears. Just look at this meter. This countdown on the World Meter site shows how many barrels of oil, fossil fuels, are left in the world. The meter has been counting down since 2016 and shows 1.36 trillion barrels of known oil and gas reserves are left in the world. Saudi Arabia, which produces 16% of the world's oil and has reserves of 266.58 billion barrels. If these maximum numbers collected in a survey in 2016 are accepted as correct, then Saudi Arabia will run out of oil in the next 30 to 40 years. However, it is 30 or even 20 years earlier than that time Saudi oil will have depleted to that limit, that it will no longer be able to support the Saudi economy. A country with over 40% of its GDP depends on oil products certainly have very bad news therein. To be honest, this 40% is also a jugglery of words in the budget. If crude oil, gas, and taxes from accounts linked to these products are also included, they make for 75% of Saudi Arabia's fiscal revenue. So, such heavy reliance on a single non-creative product, oil, is obviously folly. The ruling family of Saudi Arabia, Al Saud, has certainly started to realize this folly, especially when, as per the Paris Agreement of 2015, countries are shifting their industry and vehicles to renewable energy and non-fossil fuel. So now, like this global meter, the countdown is also going on for countries like Saudi Arabia. They will have to completely transform themselves before 2040. In view of this challenge, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia in 2016, had announced Vision 2030. It is a vision of long-term development with a complex roadmap to achieve it. Understanding Vision 2030 and its roadmap needs a long debate, but here are only 5 important points of it. In Vision 2030, the 38-year-old Crown Prince wants Saudi Arabia from the 19th major world economy to be ranked among the top 10. The roadmap he has designed envisions promotion of the private sector of the country. That is, instead of government investments and businesses, domestic and foreign entrepreneurs bring ideas and invest in Saudi Arabia. Currently, the private sector in the Saudi economy accounts for 40%, which will be taken up to 65% in Vision 2030. For comparison, tell you that the US private sector accounts for 86% of total GDP. So, to reach this vision, Saudi Arabia knows that the image of the country needs to be changed in the first instance. Internationally, Saudi Arabia at present carries of a strict religious nature, unlike its other Arab states, Qatar and the UAE. As such, foreign investment here is difficult to reach. He, MBS, wants to change it into a secular and progressive image. That's why you see MBS creating leagues in Saudi Arabia, buying players, opening music shows and cinemas. Saudi Arabia believes it, by promoting its private sector, it will increase its non-oil revenue to 1 trillion riyals, which is currently stalled at 63 billion. The Vision 2030 roadmap also aims to make Saudi society as active and productive to make the Saudi workforce take part in the government and businesses more than foreigners. At present, approximately 70% of the Saudi workforce is employed in Saudi government jobs. And this figure is devastating for any country. Then this Saudi workforce is also not of international standard. Saudi employees cost the country more than non-Saudi workers, because by law a Saudi national will earn more than a non-Saudi and cannot be fired. Therefore, in Vision 2030, bringing Saudi youth to the level of the international workforce and teaching similar skills is one of the most important targets. It is true that this challenge is difficult in Saudi society, because the Saudi workforce over a long time has become accustomed to serving with little skills for high salaries. Obviously, it is not easy to overcome this relaxation, and even if these people get expertise in their fields, that is, they do some advanced courses as well, the question is whether they would agree to serve for the same salaries as non-Saudis. International companies are compelled by Saudi law to hire Saudi workforce, but this practice is feasible only in those institutions which are obliged to do business in Saudi Arabia. When Saudi Arabia will need foreign investors to its country by giving attractive offers, they would not made to follow unjust restrictions, like allocating a quota for its citizens for jobs pay them more than others, and also do not fire them. Another issue is related to the Saudi workforce, which is the non-presence of Saudi women in the Saudi economy, because women are rarely sent out for jobs or business in Saudi society. Changing this also forms the main goal of Vision 2030. As per the data of 2022, women constitute 42% of the Saudi population. Around 15 million Saudis are women. This situation is a bit imbalanced, but even then, if 42% of the country's population will not work at all, how will it compete with the world's major economies? Therefore, the roadmap of Vision 2030 is going to change this conservative approach of Saudi society. For this, in the last few years, the Saudi government has not only allowed women to drive, but now women can travel without a mahram, brother, husband, father, etc., under certain conditions. Vision 2030 has set 30% shares for women in the Saudi kingdom workforce. Interestingly, the Saudi authorities have not only achieved this target, but Saudi women have become 36% of the total workforce instead of 30%. That is 6% over the target. To achieve this target, the Saudi authorities took many steps, including allocating 20% of the seats in the shura councils to women, allowing women the right to cast votes in the municipal corporation election, and also allowing them to contest the election. Millions of jobs were created for women. Online platforms for job search were created for the women who wanted to serve. Apart from this, arrangements were also made to impart training to women for the transportation of women from the workplace to home. Wusul app has been developed, which all show the Saudis' commitment to women's jobs. It is because of these swift and bold actions that Saudi Arabia has become among the top 10 countries in the World Bank's ranking, where the role of women in the economy is increasing. Now, side by side, this amazing growth and speed owes Saudi Arabia in the world, it is also being viewed with suspicion. Research says the claim of the increased role of Saudi women are cosmetics, as their only purpose is to improve the soft image of Saudi Arabia, while in reality, for liberalization of women and their freedom, and to develop them into a business through an environment, need a long time. Along with women's role in business and investment, Saudi Arabia has also learned a lot from its neighbors, the UAE and Qatar. In Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia has greatly valued developing tourism attractions in the country. In the World Heritage Sites of UNESCO, efforts are underway to get registration of the Saudi historical sites. Steps are being taken as Muslims from all over the world come to perform Hajj and Umrah, so foreign tourists would also throng Saudi Arabia. Because more the tourists and visitors come to Saudi Arabia, the more it will attract investors. The hotel, entertainment, and transportation industries in Saudi Arabia would equally benefit from it. And the soft image of the country will proportionally improve. Vision 2030 holds tourism attraction as a mega project under Neom, with the line being a groundbreaking development. This 170-kilometer-long and 200-meter-wide city, the line, is unlike anything humanity has seen before. Rising 200 meters above sea level, its mirrored surfaces will reflect breathtaking views on both sides. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, is deeply invested in this project. He even brought in world-famous theoretical physicist, Professor Michio Kaku, author of bestsellers like The Physics of the Future and The Future of Humanity, to promote this futuristic vision. So this is Michio Kaku is seen in the promotion videos of Futuristic City Neom and Line project. Futuristic City will run entirely on renewable energy. It will have zero carbon emissions with all amenities of health, etc., within 2 to 5 minutes walking distance. It will have the world's fastest transport flying cars and robots equipped with artificial intelligence providing services. Moreover, all the infrastructure for the development of technology industries will be provided in the city to make it a global hub of international technology companies. On completion, Neom will certainly be the most expensive city, but it will also be the first city in history to be built with all the possible technologies of the future. Estimated, the construction of this city will cost at least $500 billion. Where will this wealth and money come from? For this, Saudi Arabia has taken several steps, one of which is the establishment of a public investment fund of $2,000 billion. The fund is part of Vision 2030 apart from the Neom project. A public investment fund is a sovereign wealth fund in which governments save money from their budgets and invest. It is not spent like savings, but its investment is continuously rolled over in various profitable projects. This fund was already established, and Saudi Arabia has decided to take to $2 trillion under Vision 2030. It has not yet $2 trillion, but the Saudi government is constantly increasing it. For the same purpose, the Saudi oil company Aramco, a top company in the world and most profitable company, has also transferred 8% of the shares to this fund. Annual profits on Aramco shares from the fund are estimated at around $9 billion. Know that the biggest public fund in the world at the moment belongs to the Norwegian government, which has been constituted from the income of oil and gas. The fund is bound to benefit the future generations, yet at present, it is a blessing for older and disabled people in Norway. Thanks to this fund, Norway is a welfare state. China, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and Kuwait also have the largest public investment funds in the world. This fund of Saudi billion has reached the value of around $800 billion until now. That is, 40% of the target of $2 trillion has been achieved by Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Public Investment Fund is also investing in grand projects like Neom. So far, foreign investment in it is not in sight. Initially, it was estimated that 1.5 million people would be settled in this line city by 2030, but now this target has been cut down to 300,000. The length of the city has also been reduced from 170 kilometers to around 2.4 kilometers. From these two steps, you must have guessed that Line City and Neom Gigaproject are facing difficulties now. Yes, it is so. In fact, the Saudi authorities are also realizing that this task is not as easy as it seemed initially. Apart from this, the financial feasibility of the Neom project experts also have serious concerns. Many experts say spending hundreds of billions of dollars a modern showpiece city can be built in the desert, but the point is, whether it will attract people to live there as they tend to come and settle in a new city, and the middle class develops thereby. As a matter of fact, in such an expensive city, the concept of middle-class inhabitation is impossible. Bringing people here for settlement is a bigger challenge than building it. Then questions are also being raised about this project in terms of human rights. It is because Saudi security is forcibly evicting the ancient tribal populations from this vast area who have been living here for generations. It is being said that they are not being compensated. According to BBC News, to clear the area of native people, they were even allowed to be killed. Additionally, the biggest challenge of Vision 2030 is the conservative religious community of Saudi Arabia, which is the progeny of Imam al-Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab, who are generally known as Wahhabis. Between 1927 and 1932, when this huge part of Arabia came to the hands of Al Saud, they named it Saudi Arabia, after their family name. Then the military force of the Wahhabis of Ali Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab was with them. They were powerful. Since then, the religious affairs of Saudi Arabia are with the family of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, and they are called al-Sheikh. This powerful class has been and is an equal partner in the Saudi government. All decisions are jointly taken by Al Saud and Al Abdul Wahhab. Both also are almost equal in number in the Shura Council. During the time of Shah Faisal and later in the era of Shah Fahd and Shah Abdullah, when attempts were made for modern reforms in Saudi Arabia, these ulama, scholars of Wahhabis, came in the way. So now that women in Saudi Arabia are getting jobs, they are driving. Foreign women moving around in Saudi Arabia unveiled are coming here for business. The fear looms large. This religious class will like all that. A strong reaction from them and their followers is possible. Al Abdul Wahhab, though politically weakened, still holds the reins of a large conservative section of the people. In particular, on women's going out of home for job and business, etc., have already been declared their red line by some Saudi Wahhabi scholars. Some people believe that even now there is anger in the conservative class of Saudi Arabia, and they are also expressing it. But due to controlled media by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, such events are not being brought to the world, and their news or videos are not made public. Then another huge challenge that MBS faces is that Vision 2030 is not a Saudi national plan in the democratic sense, at least not in the context of its details. This project has the personal desire of MBS and the backing of his family, but the approval of the royal family and the Saudi people is not with this project. That is, it is without public consensus and debate on it. If something happens to the crown prince in the future or another prince of Al Saud comes to power in Saudi Arabia, will Vision 2030's Neom project in Line City still be developed? The answer is, no one knows about it. The chance is 50-50. However, before embarking on this multi-billion-dollar project, there should have been a democratic consensus of the majority of the nation so that whichever government comes, this project should continue as a national project. Another unprecedented challenge is also facing Project 2030. That is, the geopolitics of the Middle East has taken a very perilous turn. Saudi Arabia is backing rebels in Syria and is also in a temporary truce with neighboring Yemen after a long battle with Houthis. Neighboring countries Jordan and Palestine are already in a war situation. Saudi Arabia has normalized relations with Iran, Qatar, and Turkey, but ties with them have yet not been converted into friendship. That is, MBS has struck a very delicate balance which could go lopsided due to any upheaval in the Middle East, jeopardizing the Project 2030. In the end, let me tell you that Saudi Arabia today stands at a place from where it is hard for it to go back. the establishment of the kingdom, investments of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the future of 30.5 million Saudis all hang on the thin wall of the glass house. A single stone on the wall will destroy everything. Saudi Arabia, which struck a non-return agreement with its people, that no tax, no representation that is, will not tax the people and give them no share in the rule, has also been broken. Because recently, Saudi Arabia has abolished subsidies on gasoline and imposed taxes on land in urban areas. Apart from this, taxes are being levied on tobacco, air tickets, and soft drinks. In this situation, when the masses will have to pay taxes and inflation will come about, and people will not have even easy jobs, then obviously, the Saudi people demand anything in return for all that. Football superstars, million-dollar shows of dancing girls, casinos and cinemas have temporarily enthralled the Saudi youth. But the question is, will they really transform themselves into a working nation by 2030? How will the Saudis react to working hard for lower salaries contrary to their long-drawn habit, especially when the sheikhs of Al Abdul Wahab will be eager to get them into their fold? This a moot question. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Luna for more content like this. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions. I am your Luna, signing off.